So, I'm gonna be honest. Before I started this, I've never actually watched Urasei Yatsura. And I'll bet neither have you. Or maybe you've only seen the remake. Hey, that's no problem. But we can't talk about harem anime with talking about the big one, the OG. So let's dive right into it. Before we get into the fun stuff, you need to know who wrote this. Rumiko Takahashi. Now, some of you, that name might sound familiar. For the rest of you, who just want me to stop dragging this out for runtime, hear me out. Takahashi is basically the queen of manga. If you've watched romance, harem, supernatural comedy, or gender bender anime, you've probably encountered tropes that she helped popularize. Just look at the hits, Ranma 1/2, Ren Ni, Mao, and for a lot of you, I know it was also me, the first anime you ever watched, Inuyasha. It's honestly wild that someone so influential is the architect to the genre that I am reviewing. Speaking of that, let's talk about tropes, the one that this show created. And when I say created, I mean popularized. So please, don't jump into the comments saying, actually, this obscure 1970s manga did it first. Here is a speed run for the tropes of that this show normalized. The average guy surrounded by extraordinary girls, the chaos magnet protagonist, the violent tsundere, the childhood friend who never wins, which, let's be real, is absolute bullshit, and we'll talk about this later. The jealous harem member, the dense male lead, and the biggest one, beautiful women competing over a total fucking idiot. So, digging into the actual story, it's basically the only show up threatening to conquer Earth, and the one guy who can save us is Aritsu. Now, Aritsu is a total womanizer, and I mean, who doesn't love women? But the situation is very absurd. They play tag to decide the fate of Earth, and the only reason Aritsu agreed to do this is because his opponent is a beautiful woman named Loom. Before this, he was saying no to the giant invader sitting in his living room, which is Loom's father, and he was hanging all over his childhood friend Shinobu. But as soon as Loom comes in, he thinks of grabbing her breast, and honestly, same brother. And right after having all these pervy thoughts and getting hit by Shinobu, these random reporters pop out of the floor, like 7 of them. And then they're all surrounding Artaro, Loom, and Shinobu, but there's far more than 7 of them surrounding him. It's like a whole room full, and it's weird to fucking look at. Editor, show the clip.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Anyways, they're asking him what he's going to do, telling him that he's brave, just for this man to say, "It's for the sake of Earth. If I don't do it, who will?"
He could only have gotten that idea from Benjamin Netanyahu.
My guy, you were literally just screaming about not wanting to save Earth from this giant of a man. But as soon as you see Pretty Lady, you go,
"Oh yes, I gotta touch her." Yes.
So, it continues with him trying and failing to catch a Loom. Some of these comedy bits actually got a laugh out of me, but it's the night before the last day, because he only has 10 days to tag her, right? On the last night, the family is watching TV, the news is talking about him constantly failing, and they say, if he fails, we should kill him and his family. And the neighbors are planning to lynch them. Like, what the fuck? And it turns into Aritsu and Shinobu in his room, and Aritsu is like, fuck, catching an alien is hard. I should have gotten information before agreeing to this. And Shinobu, being the savage she is, states, yeah, if you weren't thinking about those big boobs she has, we wouldn't be in this mess. But if you win, I will marry you and you can have my boobs. And Homeboy's like, bet. So the last day, they're facing each other. People are shit talking to him. He's not letting it affect him. Aritsu pulls out a suction cup gun, pulls Loom's top off, and she chases it. And he grabs the horns, shouting, "I'm going to get married." And that's the foundation of this whole harem story. Loom thinks that she's going to get married to him and basically guilt trips this man, saying, "Oh, in my culture, we take marriage propositions super seriously," so he doesn't want to say no, but at the same time, doesn't want to be with her and wants to be with Shinobu. But at the same time, also, throughout this entire anime, wants to flirt with any beautiful woman. Doesn't have to be beautiful. Any woman he will flirt with. But that's for later. Loom then moves in. Ataru keeps flirting with literally anyone else. He gets electrocuted. Chaos happens. Rinse and repeat. It's not about getting a relationship milestone. It's just about how loud and funny the mess can get. He's selfish. He's a womanizer. But at the same time, he always comes back to Loom. He protects her. Eventually, he does worry about her. Does he actually show love to her? I'm not going to settle this debate, but ultimately it is in the heart of the show. And don't get me wrong, the character growth, it is slow as hell. They learn stuff like responsibility and friendship, the typical things you would expect to see in an anime. But at the same time, they're still basically the same chaotic people at the end. The plot is usually just a simple problem that explodes into a full-blown reality-breaking chaos because someone got jealous or a curse went wrong. And that's it. It's simple, background type of anime. Now, moving on, let's talk about the characters. You've already heard their names, but let's kind of talk about them as they get later on. Ataru, he never really stops being an idiot, but somehow flashes some bravery. Loom, she goes from just being this super possessive to actually being kind and patient with some of his nonsense. Shinobu, she goes from the OG, childhood friend, who always gets the short end of the stick. Her whole journey is basically trying to figure out who she is, and honestly, finding someone who treats her like a human instead of a side piece. And then there's the supporting cast of Mendo, Sakura, Ran, Benton. They aren't there for deep character arcs. They're there to throw more gas on the fire and not really develop the characters. So, you're wondering why this show matters, right? Because from the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like a harem. And honestly, it's not. It's just a rom-com. Just because it's the blueprint. Any of the tropes that you see in this anime, you will find anywhere else. I mean, you look at stuff like Love Hina, To Love Ru, or High School DxD, they're just following the playbook that Urasei Yatsura wrote. The accidental engagement, the jealous heroine, the chaotic harem, it's all here. It basically defined the genre for better or for worse. At the end of the day, Urasei Yatsura isn't really about reaching a destination. It's about watching two stubborn idiots who clearly love each other drag an entire universe into their relationship problems for 194 episodes. Now, we're going to get on to the ranking. Every episode introduces new chaos, a new misunderstanding, and a new hijink. While this can be entertaining, For a while, the lack of meaningful progression starts to become noticeable over nearly 75 episodes. Eventually, the formula becomes repetitive, and there were definite times where the series began to drag for me. While I enjoyed many of the individual adventures, the overall story never felt like it was building towards anything significant. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. Now we're going to talk about the main character. Once again, 10 points. The main character, Ataru Morobishi, I kind of went into him earlier, but this is going to be the ranking section. He's lazy, he's selfish, he's womanizing, and constantly creates problems for himself and everybody around him. Is he likable? Not really. Is he competent? Absolutely not. Is he dense? Probably one of the densest protagonists I've ever watched. The biggest problem is that the series asks you to spend 194 episodes with him, and I rarely found myself rooting for him. There are moments when he shows loyalty and genuine care for Loom, but they're often buried beneath the layers of bad decisions and questionable behavior. So he gets a 3 out of 10. Now on to the Harem cast, where we got out of 20 points. One thing that surprised me is that by modern standards, this barely feels like a traditional harem anime. Most of the attention is focused on Loom and Shinobu, with Loom obviously becoming the central female character. That said, the cast is memorable. Loom is iconic, and Shinobu serves as an interesting contrast to Loom. The supporting cast is completely unhinged, and that's honestly where a lot of the show's charm comes from. The characters often feel like both actual people and walking tropes at the same time, which is understandable considering this series helped create many of the tropes in the first place. So, for the cast, out of 20 points, we're giving it a 15. Next category is romance. Once again, 10 points. This is where the show struggled for me. Does romance exist? Yes, but at the same time, no. Loom is completely devoted to Ataru from the very beginning. Ataru spends most of the series chasing other girls. Shinobu and Ataru have their moments where it feels like something could happen, but actual progression? Almost none. Confessions? No, not really. Meaningful relationship development? Very, very little. For a romantic comedy, the romance often feels frozen in place, so we're giving it a total of 3 out of 10. Now we're going to go on to comedy, where once again, 10 points. And this is really where Urasei Yatsura shines. The comedy is still genuinely funny. It's a lot of slapstick humors, misunderstandings, and absurd situations. A lot of it is slapstick humor, misunderstandings, and absurd situations, but the series commits fully to its chaos. Not every joke lands today. Some of the humor definitely shows its age, and yes, some jokes do become repetitive. But overall, the comedy remains the strongest aspect of the series. And there were plenty of moments throughout the show that made me laugh even over 40 years after it first aired. So for the comedy, we're giving it a 10 out of 10. Now, let's move on to fan service. Just 5 simple points. For what the show is trying to accomplish, the fan service works. It never feels excessive, it fits the tone, it fits the character, and it helped establish many of the standards that later harem animes would build upon. So the fan service score, 5 out of 5. Now on to world building. Once again, 5 simple, easy points. The world itself isn't particularly deep. Most of the series takes place in a fairly standard version of modern Japan. The setting mainly exists to give the cast opportunities to create chaos, and still, the constant appearance of aliens, supernatural beings, and bizarre situations kept the world entertaining. It's not a living, breathing world, but it is a fun playground for the story. So we're giving it a 4 out of 5. Now, on to the opening and endings. Urasei Yatsura has a lot of openings and endings throughout its long run. The 80s music gives the series a unique identity, and many of the songs fit the tone perfectly. They're energetic, they're memorable, and they help define the atmosphere of the show. Even if you don't love every single one, there's enough variety here that most viewers will find at least one or a few that would be up in their favorites. So for this category, we're giving them a total of 5 out of 5 points. Now going on to the animation and production category, which is going to be a total of 10 points. Considering this anime started airing in 1981, it still looks surprisingly good. Sure, there are moments where the age shows, but the animation remains expressive. The voice acting is still excellent. The soundtrack perfectly captures the energy of this series, and the production quality consistently supports the comedy. So for this category, for the animation and production, we're giving them a full 10 out of 10. Now we're going to get into the harem effectiveness, which total of 10 points. Here's where things get interesting. For my project, I don't consider Urasei Yatsura a true harem anime by modern standards. It's much closer to a romantic comedy than what most anime fans would recognize as a modern harem. However, I can't ignore its historical significance. This series laid the foundation for the genre. Without Urasei Yatsura, many of the harem animes we're familiar with today may not exist. So while it doesn't fully work as a harem anime for me, its influence earns it a great deal of respect. The effectiveness score of the harem is 6 out of 10. Now, on to the final thoughts. Urasei Yatsura is one of the most important animes ever made for the harem genre. It's funny, it's chaotic, it's influential, but influence alone doesn't automatically make something great. As a piece of anime history, this deserves tremendous respect. As a viewing experience in 2026, I found it enjoyable but heavily flawed. For me, the repetitive structure, lack of progression, weak romance, and frustrating protagonists held it back. The final score is going to be 65 out of 100. Tier ranking, C tier. Not a bad anime. It's an important anime. And sometimes those two are very, very different things. And that is the end of Urasei Yatsura review. I just want to go through and give a special shout out for everybody who made this possible, starting with Leon making an amazing edit and being an amazing editor. Everybody go follow him. And then Xeon for going through and making the emotes. Go commission them on VGen. Links down below, of course, if you want your own special emotes. And my friends. Hayami Kuriyami, Alex Nazareth, Basil, Emmy, everybody who helped make this thing possible. And, of course, to you for watching all the way to the end of the video. I hope you enjoy, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you all, and have a wonderful night.